Okay, hey guys, I wanted to make a video about my bodybuilding competition. This is my second competition I've ever done, and I bombed. I made a big mistake. About an hour before stepping on stage, I drank an entire bottle of dish soap, like a 32-ounce bottle. I know, it's a dumb mistake. A lot of people try that tactic, and it's very risky. It washed out my physique. I had a washed out physique, but hey, I wasn't the guy that stuffed an entire bag of M&Ms up his butt before going on stage.
All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that we're going to talk about today is obviously going to be the biggest one, which is the big Ramy physique update posted today, which is now under 15 weeks out from the 2022 Mr. Olympia, December 16th and 17th, as you can see in the caption of his post there. So yes, I am equally as impressed with this update as a lot of you guys were that were commenting it, sending it to me. Big Ramy is on. I mean, there's nothing really else to say besides Big Ramy looks like he's going to be extremely dangerous at the Olympia. Every update that he's posted, it's the same story as the other updates we've been getting from Ramy. And I want to give Ramy props here because it seems like every day or every other day, either him or Dennis or somebody else from his team is posting a training video, a physique update, a posing video, or something of Ramy. And I think that's what the fans want to see from him as Mr. Olympia. So I want to commend him for that. Now, this update in particular, I think, really shows off Big Ramy's most dangerous weapon at the Olympia, and that is his width. It's not size alone, it's not weight alone that makes Big Ramy so dangerous. Yes, it's crazy that he's right now weighing over 330 pounds. That's an insane body weight. But the thing that really makes Ramy dangerous is that upper body width, particularly that shoulder width, and then also he's got the legs that give him this X-frame. But this update in particular, I think, shows off how small his midsection is, combined with that upper body width, the illusion of width that his physique has right now and will have at the Olympia is what makes him so dangerous. There's a lot of big guys in the Olympia lineup. There's a lot of big guys qualified for the Olympia, but there's not a lot of big guys with the width that Ramy has and with the waist that Ramy has. And I think you can clearly see in this update what I'm talking about with his waist. It's extremely impressive for a bodybuilder to be 336 pounds, which is the only weight he's given over the past few updates, and that was maybe a few weeks ago now. But that size with this kind of waist is insane. And again, the illusion of width that enhances, that's his most dangerous weapon. And really, like I said, all these other big guys, you've got Nick Walker, who I think is the next craziest mass monster, but he's shorter, he's stockier, he doesn't have the same illusion of width that Ramy has. He keeps his waist in check for sure, which is very impressive, but he doesn't have this crazy V-taper that it's insane what Ramy's able to do. It really is. Now, I still want to point out that we haven't seen Ramy's legs yet. None of these updates have shown his legs, and that's the main thing that I'm looking forward to seeing from Ramy. And I think that's typically what we see when he does show these updates from year to year. He typically waits to show his legs till the very end. So we'll be on the lookout for that. Now, next up in the news, I want to give a congratulations to Brandon Harding, a.k.a. Brandon Hardbody, for finally earning his pro card in the IFBB in the classic physique division, looking what I think has been the all-time best that we've seen him look. Now, he won this pro card at the NPC Austria this past weekend, and like I said, I really do think it was deserved. I think this is the best he's looked, and I think he's going to be impressive as a pro. I do think, obviously, there's going to be some improvements he needs to make before we start talking about him being a top classic physique pro, but right now I think we need to celebrate his victory because here we have a guy built a tremendous following on social media, had a lot of hype, and finally delivered on that hype, earning his pro card, which I think should always be celebrated and is always really impressive. So it's really cool to see him turn pro. And whatever show he chooses to make his pro debut at, I think it's going to make that show that much more exciting because then we're going to have a storyline going into that show. So I'm looking forward to that. But right now, I think Brandon should just enjoy this victory. And again, I think he looked phenomenal. I've always really liked his physique. The past couple shows that we've seen him do, I thought he looked close to getting his pro card. He really impressed me. So shout out to Brandon Harding. Just wanted to give him a congratulations here. Now, another impressive physique update that I saw recently was a guest posing. And that guest posing was from Samson Dauda. Now, we just talked about Big Ramy. Samson Dauda is probably the second largest guy that's qualified for the Olympia right now in terms of just sheer body weight. So he did this guest posing this past weekend. We know that he's well over 300 pounds. And again, we're 15 weeks out from the Olympia. To me, Samson looked insanely impressive in this guest posing. And the thing that really impressed me, again, kind of similar to Ramy, was the midsection, but more so than the lack of width in the midsection, the lack of distension, the way that he kept it controlled, how deep his abs looked here, I think was very impressive this far out from the Olympia. And again, at the body weight that he's at now, I think he's coming down from that body weight of 330 pounds. I don't think he weighs 330 here. But he's got a lot of depth and a lot of separation in his abs for this point in his prep. And again, for that body weight, he's got a lot of separation in his body in general to be at this body weight, which I think he is going to be a pretty serious threat at the Olympia. And I think people are going to be surprised with how he places. He looks better than ever to me, bigger and better than ever. He doesn't look too bloated. He doesn't look too watery. He doesn't look like he's all distended and spilling out everywhere. He looks really good for the weight that he's at. And I think as we see him cut down for the Olympia and actually get some more some definition in his physique, I think he's going to be a very commanding stage presence at that weight, that height. I think he's going to be dangerous. Now, another guest posing that we saw this past weekend was at the 2022 NPC Southwestern States. The Southwestern Muscle Classic, rather. And in this guest posing, you had an open guy, a 212 guy, and a classic guy, Breon Ansley being the classic guy. And we just talked about Breon a couple videos ago and how big he was looking lately in this offseason for him. And seeing Breon in this guest posing, even though everybody is not in competition shape, obviously, he really does hold his own next to a 212 guy and next to an open guy. Now, I believe he is still doing the Classic Physique Olympia this year, but I still think in the updates, even though they're off-season updates that we've seen from him lately, it's the biggest that I've seen him look in the off-season, which I think is a little bit odd considering the fact that he keeps saying that one of the reasons why he's not looked the best in Classic Physique at the past couple of showings was the fact that he's always kind of struggled with making weight for that division, and that's why he thinks 212 would be a better fit, because you'd have a little bit more wiggle room when making weight. So again, I think if he was already struggling with making weight, he wouldn't be looking bigger than he's ever looked. He would be maybe toning it down a bit. And we know that he is switching to 212 next year after this Olympia. But I still wonder if there's a chance that he somehow tries to get into the 212 Olympia, maybe does a 212 show prior to the Olympia. There's still plenty of time before the Olympia that he could compete. I don't know. I'm curious, and I'm keeping my eye on Breon because I think something could happen prior to the Olympia as far as him and 212, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below about how Breon is looking in this lineup relative to these other guest posers here from 212 and Open. Now, next up in the news, let's talk about JujiMufu a little bit. So we talked about Juji a few videos ago. He just competed at the NPC North Americans where he took 11th place in the super heavyweight category. And a lot of the conversation around how Juji looked was not overwhelmingly positive. And again, I do feel bad for Juji because he said in his video, a lot of the comments that he's read has kind of hurt his feelings. He is human. And I like Juji a lot, so it's tough to be super critical of his physique. But a lot of the conversation after that showing has been, A, that he didn't look as good as he looked at the last show that he did. And then B was the chest, and then C was the quad. So we talked about this at length. The left side of his chest didn't really look, it almost looked like an injury. It looked very flattened out. It looked kind of puffy. The quads, especially the outer sweep of his quads, looked very puffy and kind of blurry. And he put out a video kind of responding to these comments. He said, there's no truth to any of the synthol or site enhancement. He said he's never touched the stuff. That had nothing to do with it. It wasn't injections. Now, he did make a joke, and I want to clarify that was a joke in the beginning of his video where he said he drank some dishwater and that washed out his physique. That was clearly a joke about being washed out. I had countless people message me after that asking, what does it mean that JujiMufu drank dishwater before going on stage? I'm like, bro, he was joking. Now, he did mention in his video that he thought it could have been an allergic reaction. He said he had used the compound 4 weeks out, and then he had no problems until 4 days out when he took it in the quad. Then immediately after, both quads, both pecs, both shoulders got swollen red, blotchy marks, and I had a hot flash and almost passed out. This was a response that he had to another comment. He said, half an hour later, the swelling was still present in my pecs and quads. Phil and Dorian tried to do damage control until the show and did a great job, and I appreciate their help. I talked to some people. Other people said maybe it was bacterial, maybe my immune system was very compromised. He did mention in his video that this prep felt tougher to him and he was more tired than he had ever been in any other prep. And I should mention that he also said in his video that, to his knowledge, there was no injury to the pec, no injury to the quads. He did also mention in his video that he was training legs pretty much up until the show, and maybe he trained legs too close to the show, and that could have led to the swollen look. But again, he clarifies that it wasn't site injections in those spots before the show. He said he was looking good a week out, and it was the one shot that 4 days out, and then boom, he got smacked instantly. Then he said his question is why it didn't happen weeks earlier. Maybe the bottle went bad since it was water-based, or his immune system couldn't handle it, or maybe the batch was compromised. He also mentioned stress and cortisol and the flattening out as possibly being the suspect. But I am actually glad to hear, and I didn't really suspect that he was using site enhancement oil. I did see that comment a lot. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that he doesn't have an injury to his knowledge. I do think that the comparison pictures with his last show and this show, showing the chest specifically, it did look like something's going on with the chest. That I don't think there's any question about that. The quads were definitely swollen and inflamed, but the chest, just that one side of the chest particularly looking different, I think was the biggest thing that jumped out to me. But overall, I'm just glad he's okay now, because if he was having an allergic reaction or some type of severe situation, things could have gone a lot worse. But he's here, he's healthy. He intends to take bodybuilding slower and take some time to improve his physique. And he said, I think maybe compete in 3 years when he's in his 40s, and take the next 3 years from 37 to 40 to focus on bodybuilding, which I think would be good. But at the end of the day, I'm just glad he's all right. So shout out to JujiMufu. We love him. I know a lot of you guys enjoy his channel. I enjoy his channel, and I do hope he continues to compete. And the final story that I have for you guys today, a physique update from GoodVito. The first one where I've seen him officially confirm the date of his next competition. This front double bicep shot, which I think is one of his best shots. He has the caption 8 weeks out. So we know that he pushed his show back. He was originally going to try to compete in September in Brazil to try to earn his pro card there. But he's now pushed that back to November. So he's 8 weeks out from that November show, which I think he looks much more on track for that, because I think a lot of us, when we saw that recent posing video of him and Lucas Coelho, and we were still under the impression that he was competing in September, which would have meant he was under 4 weeks out. I think a lot of us thought he didn't really look that great for 4 weeks out, but 8 weeks out sounds a lot more on par with how his physique is currently looking. So we still have these guys to look forward to, man. GoodVito, Michael Krizo. Krizo will be competing in October. GoodVito will be competing shortly after that, so we're going to find out if they can earn their pro cards. I don't think GoodVito is going to have time to qualify for the Olympia, even if he does earn his pro card in November, but we'll see. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below about all the stories we discussed today, and as always, I love you guys, appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out. Alright guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power, my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.
Dancing in the good light, everybody's feeling warm and bright. It's such a fine and natural sight. Dancing in the good light, everybody's feeling warm and bright. It's such a fine and natural sight. Everybody's dancing in the good light. Everybody's dancing